An Air Force veteran, Ivan Alvarez, was an IT professional for 21 years. Coach Ivan has also been an entrepreneur for the last 32 years. He's been a business coach for the past 12 years and has worked full-time from home for the last 11 years. In those 12 years, Coach Ivan has coached and helped thousands of entrepreneurs and business owners remove blind spots so they could finally start moving towards achieving their goals and dreams. Coach Ivan is known for his deep understanding of human mindset and the power of your mind. Most also don't know that Coach Ivan is a professional dancer with 6 Dancing with the Abilene Stars to his credit. Woohoo! He has been married for 25 years and has 2 adult daughters. Take it away, Coach Ivan.
Miss Mona, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. Today, what I want to do is I want to leave you guys better than I found you. So at the end of this, hopefully in the comment section, you guys will be able to let me know if I, in fact, completed exactly what it is that I said I was going to do. So I want to share a little bit about my background before I kind of deliver the message that I want you to get, just so that you have some context of where I came from, but more importantly, how far I've come. So a lot of you will be very surprised to know that I am not born in the US. I was actually born in Honduras. Came here at the age of 7, believe it or not speaking one word of English. One of the things I tell people is, unless you understand where someone came from, it's very difficult for you to understand how far their journey has taken them. So one of the things about me is I also grew up in a very, very poor community, in a poor house. Let me kind of show you what that house looked like. So it resembled very much what you see behind me. It was a red shack made out of red clay. There was no electricity, no running water, outhouse for a bathroom, and that's where I came from. The average annual income in Honduras at the time was about $1,500 a year. Now, the reason I tell you all of that is it's really important to understand that for those that are currently here in the US have so many opportunities that you may not even recognize are there. And it's only because you were here, this is where you were born. But one of the things I wanted to share with you when it comes to the whole mental health and the journey that we're all going on, I was actually raised in a very, very abusive household, both mentally, physically, psychologically. And, that can have a very adverse effect on your ability to grow as a person. And I, believe it or not, I'm 53. I don't blame my parents. I really don't. It's what they knew, and they did the best with what they knew how to. I know for a lot of people, when you come up and you've been physically and mentally abused, there's this tendency of wanting to point fingers, right? And man, why didn't they treat me better? Why this, why that? Well, the reality was that's what happened. Those are the cards that I was given, and I had to learn, what do I do with the cards given to me? That which doesn't kill us really makes us stronger. So I want to share a little bit about that journey and how it impacted me mentally for the better part of my adult life. Having gone through so much abuse, specifically at the hands of my mother, had a really negative effect on me. And to this day, I still don't think either one of my parents realized that I was a gifted child. I remember the school trying to reach out to them and letting them know, hey, look, your son is so far ahead of all the other kids. We really need to take him out of regular school, send him to a Vanguard school. And that ended up happening. But after junior high, it pretty much stopped there. And the reason why is my focus was not on school. My focus was what was going on in the home life. Can some of you, just out of curiosity, can some of you relate to that? Maybe not growing up in not such a great environment. And maybe instead of your focus being on becoming the best version of yourself, you're really focused on just trying to live day by day. And hopefully you don't end up getting hurt so bad or getting killed throughout the process of what you're living through. And in the midst of all of this, one of the first things that I knew I really wanted to do was I wanted to get out of that situation as quickly and as humanly, possible. And for me, the answer was the Air Force. That's exactly what I wanted to do, is go to the Air Force. And I remember having to be the adult in my house. I still remember that very candidly, telling my parents, hey, this has to stop. Somebody's going to have to leave. We can't continue to do this, because I had a younger brother and a younger sister, and I refused to let them continue to go through some of the nightmare that I was going through. So long story short, told basically my father that he had to move out, find someplace else to live, because him and my mother were physically fighting all the time. I got in between some of those, got knocked in the mouth one time, bleeding all over the place, and I didn't want my kid brother and my kid sister to go through that. And I left for the Air Force, and it was a heavy heart, because obviously I had to leave my younger brother and sister with my mother, and still she was half of that problem. Well, what I didn't realize was to what extent my mental health had been compromised. And I still remember this to this day. It was 1987, and I remember driving my 1971 Datsun pickup truck. It was an orange one. And I'm driving right alongside, this is on the Air Force base, driving right alongside where the planes take off. Can't remember what it is right now. But I remember having a nervous breakdown. I stopped my truck in the middle of traffic and literally froze. Froze, could not move. And I remember traffic started getting backed up and people were coming. I don't remember all of this. This was what was told to me. People were coming to the truck, knocking on the window, trying to get me to respond, and there was no response. And it was a nervous breakdown for all the trauma that I had endured at the hands of my parents. And I just remember waking up in the hospital. It's amazing how much our minds, when it's not well taken care of, will literally respond in a negative way. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I had a choice to make, and as I'm sitting in that hospital, I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, my life is just starting, and it's not starting off very well. I have all of this heaviness that I'm carrying. How am I ever going to find success? And I knew that I was created for something more than just being in the Air Force, but I knew that was a stepping stone. And I had always had dreams of being an entrepreneur, but I also knew that to become an entrepreneur, at least a successful one, I needed to figure out, how do I deal with some of these mental issues that I'm going through? So I want to just share some of that with you really quickly on just maybe some of the few pointers that I had to put in place to ensure that I started healing myself from some of these mental issues and images that were locked into my brain from all those years of living under my parents' roof. The very first one that I remember doing was I needed to find out who I was, right? Who am I? And I knew that I wasn't my name. I knew I was more than that. Who am I? Second question is, what is my purpose? What am I here on this earth for? I know it's not to suffer from all the things that happened to me as a kid. I knew there had to be a greater purpose. So I went on this journey to figure out, who was I, right? And beyond my name, who really was the person that you see before you? And I started recognizing and realizing I was a leader in training. I was a leader in training, and I started basically going on this journey of self-development, figuring out what other leaders had done, especially those that had similar backgrounds to me. What were they doing to become better? And through self-development, I started figuring out who I was. I was this amazing individual who had a heart for people, who cared for them, and recognized that my mission in life, why am I here? My mission in life was to get people to step into their greatness. Now, I want you to see that it wasn't to become rich. It wasn't for selfish things. It was to help others step into who they were created to be. It's amazing how those of us that go through some mental health traumas, one of the things that I've seen time and time again is we're very selfless. We're always about wanting to help other people, raise them up, and get them to step into who they're supposed to become. And I started on this journey of figuring out, how do I do that? How do I begin to help more people really step into their greatness? And all of this is still within that spectrum of mental health, right? Because one of the things I started learning along the way is about this conscious and this subconscious mind. I knew, and it was indirectly, I indirectly knew that my subconscious was filled with a lot of historical things that were not serving me and were not going to serve me in the future. And for me to be able to become more, I had to learn to put more in that subconscious of those things that I desired, more so than those things that I didn't desire that were already there. So for those of you that might be taking notes, one of the first things I'm going to recommend for you is learn to program your subconscious mind with the things you desire for the future, not the things of your past. I know for some of us, whatever it is that we've endured, we're still here. And the fact that we're still here proves to me the strength that we possess. So if there are things that have happened to you in the past that you don't like, start figuring out, what can I replace that with? What is it that I desire more than that I can start putting into my subconscious mind? Let me give you a real world example. So for me, I knew that in my subconscious mind, I had this image of what a terrible marriage looked like based on my parents, their marriage, right? And it was a lot of yelling, a lot of fist fighting, never saying I love you, never being affectionate. And I didn't want any of that for my marriage. So I decided I'm going to put everything completely contrary to that into my marriage. So what does my marriage look like today at 25 years with my wife? Number one, we say we love each other each and every single day, which is something I never heard in my household. Number two is, no matter how bad things get, we never scream. We never call each other names, and we never put a hand on one another. And I'm so happy to say that here I am 25 years later, and we've held true to those things that I decided many, many years ago. Another thing was, my father was not very present, right? That was in my subconscious mind, is a non-present father. So I decided, when I have kids, I will be fully present for them. I will make sure that they know I love them by telling them, by showing them. And I will make sure that I listen to what they're saying to me and let them have their own voices, which I never had that with my father. So I literally put that into my subconscious mind of what type of father I wanted to be. And lo and behold, I've got a 24-year-old and a 29-year-old, and they will both tell you unequivocally, they know their father loves them. They know because they hear it very often. The last one is, I saw what generational curses look like, right? Because I still remember to this day, at around the age of 4 or 5, my grandmother treating my mother the same way that she treated me. And I decided, you know what? It's time to break a generational curse. And in all of these three things, these three examples that I'm sharing with you, it's a decision. It's a decision that you get to choose to make. What are the decisions that you're going to choose to make to replace something in your subconscious mind that was either told to you or you live that is not in alignment with who you want to be, who you want to become, and how you want to be viewed by this world? Make the decision of what it is that you want, maybe the antithesis, and then start putting that into your subconscious mind. So some of you are probably asking, well, Ivan, how do we begin to put these things in our subconscious mind? So I'm going to share with you guys 5 really, really important things that I believe really started to make a huge difference in my life to become just a better person overall, but also it helped me with my business and entrepreneurship. These are 5 very simple things that you can start to do, whether it's personal or whether it's business, so that you can have a better life. And it does not matter where you are, where you came from, or what age. The great thing about life is no matter what's happened, every single day is a new day, and we get to decide. No one else decides for us. We get to decide how are we going to change our lives to have a greater impact on ourselves, on those we care about, and the rest of the world. So here they are. Number one, write out your goals as if they already exist. If this is not a business goal and it's a personal goal, write it out as if it's already here. I am so happy and grateful now that I am married. My spouse and I are loving to each other, and we treat each other with respect. Our marriage is going to have longevity because we have the foundation for success. For some of you, if it's been mental health issues along the lines of depression, anxiety and all those things, write out, what do you want your life to look like if those things were no longer in it? By all means, listen to the other speakers and what they're telling you in regards to, seeking out help when you need that. But you also have a part to play in this. So write it out as if already exists in the future. I'm so happy and grateful that I am no longer anxious. Depression is no longer a part of my life. I'm stepping into the greatness for what I was created for. Life is absolutely amazing, and I cannot believe that it's only getting better. Once you write out that goal, repeat it every day to yourself multiple times a day. How many times, you say, Coach Ivan? Well, you should get to the point where you're sick and tired of hearing your own voice. That literally means that your subconscious has to be picking it up because your conscious doesn't want to hear it anymore. Okay? So you've heard me talk about this conscious and subconscious mind. So number two is there's a book I'm going to recommend that you get your hands on. And by no way, shape, or form am I getting anything back from this. It's just that this book has had such a massive impact in my life and in the life of my students that I share it with everyone that I speak with. The name of the book is called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. That book is going to get you to understand the difference between your conscious and your subconscious mind. And for those of you that don't know, your subconscious mind is 1,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind. A real quick example of that so that you understand where I'm coming from is, how many of you have ever driven from point A to point B? And you were either in a phone conversation or your thoughts were on something else. You arrive at your destination and you don't remember hardly any of the turns, stop signals that you had to stop at, but you arrived at your destination safely. That was your subconscious mind taking over. Just shows you a little bit about the power behind it. The reason most people do not have what they want in life is because they're programming their subconscious mind with all the wrong things. So that leads me to point number 3. Become more aware. Awareness is so key in changing your life. Become more aware of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your words. If they are not aligned with number 1, the goals that you wrote out, change them. I love it. I think it's Jim Rohn that says, you're not a tree, right? You can change. You can change. So if you don't like where you are right now, where you've been, simply decide that you're going to change the way that you think, what you believe, and the words that you speak. Again, I love using examples because with examples, you now know how to actually apply what I'm teaching. So here's a great example for you. If you are at that stage where you want better finances to come into your life, one of the worst things you can say is look at something and say, my goodness, that is way too expensive. I can't afford that. Well, even though you're saying it from a conscious perspective, your subconscious mind is picking up on that. And when you read that book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, one of the things that you will understand about the subconscious is even though it's very, very powerful, it's very simplistic. It literally sits there and it takes your order and literally executes it. And if you're not aware of the things that you're thinking about or the words that you're speaking, you're probably thinking and saying things that you don't want. right? Concerning yourself about, am I going to be able to pay my bills? Oh my goodness. Am I going to always be, have anxiety? Am I always going to have depression? Look, we all go through these stages at some point. Very few people like to admit it, but I'll give you a really good example of that happening to me. And then I'll cover the last 2 points and I'm going to introduce the next speaker. But I remember I live in Texas. I live in Abilene, and I used to drive to Dallas quite a bit because that's where my older daughter lives. And for whatever reason, one day I'm driving, and Dallas is known for having very high overpasses, very high. And I'm driving on an overpass, and all of a sudden I get this anxiety attack like I have never experienced in my life. I literally feel like I'm going to fall off that overpass, even though there's guardrails all the way across. And I remember the feeling that took over me in that moment in time when I'm going over that overpass. Now, emotions, if we're not careful and we allow the emotions to fully engulf us, can literally freeze us right on the spot. And I knew that the feelings that I was going through did not make sense because I had driven on that overpass more times than I care to count. So what did I do? Even though I felt it, even though I was going through it, I literally just spoke out loud, Ivan, there's nothing to fear here. You've done this 100 times and you're going to do it 100 more. And I literally kept going. And what am I doing? I'm literally telling my subconscious mind, whatever underlying programming that was in there that just popped up out of nowhere, that was not acceptable. I was not going to live that way. And I had control over it, not it having control over me. So be careful about the thoughts, be careful about the words that you're speaking, and make sure that if you catch yourself saying things that are not in alignment with your goals, take it back, speak out loud. You know what? I refuse to accept that. I take that back and I'm changing that to whatever the actual goal is. Number 4, meditate 10 to 15 minutes before you start your day and 10 to 15 minutes before you fall asleep. And what do you meditate on? I know a lot of people love to meditate, but I would ask you to try this one. It's not necessarily to replace your existing meditation. It's just maybe to add on something else that may help you even more. Imagine your perfect day. Imagine your perfect day. And I'm going to do this meditation with you guys because I still have the time for it. But real quickly, for those of you that are watching, close your eyes. Close your eyes for me real quickly. And we're going to imagine your perfect day. And this is how it's going to start. You're going to imagine yourself opening your eyes in your master bedroom. And I want you to literally engage all of your senses. When you open up your eyes in the meditation, what color are the sheets and the comforter that are on your skin? What is that fabric feel like on you, right? What do you see in this place? And it doesn't matter. It could be a small bedroom. It could be a huge bedroom. It's all about the experience so that you can program your subconscious mind on what you truly want. Imagine getting yourself out of that bed. Again, you're still in this meditative state. You walk over to your master bedroom window and you throw open the curtains. What do you see? Is it what you see currently outside, or is it a different view? Are you on the beach? Are you seeing mountains? Imagine opening up maybe the French doors to that master bedroom. What do you hear? Right? Are you hearing the water hitting, the rocks? Are you hearing maybe cars because it's somewhere in the city? What do you smell? Right? Do you smell the ocean? Do you smell fresh greenery because maybe you're on a hill or something? And then imagine that you're basically coming out of that master bedroom. You've got your robe on, and you're walking to or through your kitchen. What's being cooked for breakfast? Is it fresh fruit? Is it bacon? Whatever it is that you enjoy. Experience all of those things in that meditative state because your subconscious mind does not know that is not real. And then lastly, second to last, imagine that you walk into your living room. Who's waiting for you that you care about, that you love, that's going to spend that perfect day with you? And then before you actually get engaged in your perfect day, imagine that you're going to run to the bank and you're about to deposit a check, right? Because finances, whether we want to admit it or not, are a very necessary part of this life. What is the amount that you're depositing, right? And then what does it feel like to write down that amount on your deposit slip? The more you experience these things, the more your subconscious mind picks them up and literally feels like these are instructions on what do I need to do to make all of that reality. So it only takes 10, 15 minutes in the morning before you really start your day and just before you fall asleep. The more repetition behind it, the quicker your subconscious mind begins to engage and literally starts to give you the pathway to do that. Here's what I believe is one of the struggles that we are experiencing here in this world today. Most of us do not fully understand or appreciate the power of our own minds. Every single one of you, and I want you to hear me real clear, every single one of you has a unique DNA, one of a kind. Do you realize your DNA has never existed on planet Earth? Right now, with almost 7 billion people on this planet, you're the only person that has that DNA. And when you're gone, it will never exist again. If that doesn't make you unique, I don't know what does. That literally means that your mind is unique as well. There are things in your mind that are only for you. But you cannot allow the world to control your mind. You have to decide, what do you want to put in there? So many times we're allowing other people to influence our thoughts, our beliefs, and even the words that we're speaking. That's a choice. And what is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If you do not like the results that you're getting, change your mind, change your life. You get to decide that. You're empowered more than you can ever possibly imagine. And then number 5, the last one, decide every day to move forward and never, ever quit. Quitting is just not an option, guys. It really isn't. And the fact that your DNA is so unique should make you and help you understand you really need to stay strong in living your life. Don't worry about the next person. You're not in competition because no one can compete against you, nor can you compete against anyone else. If you decide, look, I'm going to live my life to the best of my abilities based on all the skills and talents I've been given, oh my goodness gracious, you change the world. Every single one of you. Our mental health issues do not define us. They literally make us stronger because now we get to tell other people, hey, you don't know what I've overcome. You don't know what I've come through. More importantly, you don't know how that has helped others become the best version of themselves.